Hey everybody, I thought I would send out some videos this week talking about the last week of the life of Jesus. You know, yesterday was Palm Sunday, and I got to thinking about it. How did things change so quick from Jesus coming off the Mount of Olivet? And they're praising him, they're crying out Hosanna, they're wanting him to be the King of the Jews, and things just look so wonderful. Well, what happened to get him to the cross in such a short period of time? Well, the Bible tells us in the book of Mark, chapter number 11, after Jesus done his triumphal entry on Sunday, then they go through that day, and then the Monday comes around, and said on the morrow when they were come from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing a fig tree afar off having leaves, he came, if haply he might find anything thereon. And when he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for the time of the fig was not yet. And Jesus in answer says, no man can eat fruit of thee hereafter forever. And his disciples heard it. Many people think that this was an analogy of the nation of Israel, who were fruitless and they weren't doing what God had called them to do. So he talked about that with the disciples. And then it says, and they came to Jerusalem, and Jesus went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold the doves, and would not suffer that any man should carry any vessel through the temple. And he taught, saying unto them, is it not written, my house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer, but you have made it into a den of thieves. And the scribes and the chief priests heard it, and sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all people was astonished at his doctrine. And when even was come, he went out of the city. So there in chapter 11, verse 11, he finished his triumphal entry. He went in to the temple, then he went back to the Mount of Olives. Next morning he gets up, which is Monday morning. He pronounces the curse upon the fig tree, which is also getting ready to be a curse upon the nation of Israel. Of course, God's going to graft them back in one of these days. And then he makes his way into the temple. And Jesus is very upset. It wasn't so much that they were selling stuff in there, but it was the atmosphere. It was the attitude. The book of Jeremiah tells us what was going on. Jeremiah 7 verse 5 said, for if you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widows, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then I will cause you to dwell in this place, in the land of Israel, and in the land that I give to your fathers forever and ever. Jeremiah's telling them, you better quit doing what you're doing. You better quit dealing with strangers in a fraudulent manner. You better quit doing bad to the widows, to the fatherless, and they were oppressing people. So Jesus walks into the temple that morning, and he knows that his time is near, and man, he began to cast them out. It said those that sold and those that bought in the temple, he overthrew the tables and the seats of them that sold doves. And then it says this, he wouldn't let anybody come through the temple. I mean, this man had taken over. Well, the scribes and the chief priest who done a good business there in the temple, they wanted to destroy him. And it said they feared him because all the people loved his doctrine. They were astonished at his doctrine. And from that moment, they decided that Jesus had to be done away with, that he had to be killed. They didn't know the cross was going to be part of that. I believe this thing got out of hand even faster than they thought it was going to get out of hand, and they had no idea really what they were doing. But this was in God's big scheme of things. And then it says this, and when even was come, he went out of the city. So the last week of Jesus' life, we're going to see that he comes down the ascent of the Mount of Olives. They worship him on Sunday. He goes back and sleeps in the garden on Sunday night. Then on Monday, he comes, he curses the fig tree. He casts everybody out of the temple. He literally takes over the temple. And the leaders are helpless. The scribes are helpless. The chief priests, they're helpless. They're afraid of him because of all the people. And Jesus spends the day there. He retreats and goes back to the Mount of Olives. Tomorrow, we will pick back up on what happened the next day. And we'll really see what's going to take place on Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Thursday, some things happen. And then, of course, that night, things really get out of hand as Judas will go and betray him. And then Jesus and his 11 men, they'll march down the little valley of Kidron. They'll march over the brook of Kidron. They'll go back up the ascent of the Mount of Olives, and then that night, of course, they're going to come in and take him and treat him like a prisoner, treat him like a thief. And by Friday morning at 9 o'clock, he's going to be on the cross. And he'll hang there for 6 hours. And then they will crucify him. Isn't it amazing how things can get out of hand so fast? I mean, our lives are like this. I mean, things will be going so good in our life. One moment we'll think we're at the very top of our life. And the next thing you know, our life's out of control. Our life's out of, we can't get our arms around it. And before we know it, our life's been turned upside down. Jesus shows us, even though all this is taking place, he's in control. I don't even believe that on Monday, these guys knew that come Friday or Thursday night that they're going to have him up on the cross by Friday. But see, God did. God done had all this figured out. God done had a plan, and he's going to get Jesus to the cross, and he's going to pay a payment for my sin. He's going to be the sacrifice for the sins of the world, and he's going to die. He's going to be buried for Friday night, all day Saturday night, and then Sunday morning he's going to get up out of that tomb. Here's what I'd like to ask our church to do. I want you to remember Judy Carter and pray for her. And then I had a call from Stacy, or a message from Stacy Roos this morning, that some people that she works with had a fever this morning, and they're really worried down there that some of the workers might be getting sick where she works at. And then there's just a lot of folks that's sick. Remember Brother Johnny Queen, remember his family. He's in the hospital over here with this COVID virus. A friend of mine, one of my pastor friends, told me he preached a revival in Cartersville. He got a text this past week, said the piano player in that church had died from COVID-19 virus, and another member of that church had it. And he said that he's had 2 people in his church here in Whitfield County that's also had this virus. So, y'all, this is real. I mean, maybe the media is making this into something bigger than it is, but when you can put a face on it, and when you can put a name with it, this is real. And this is a killer. It kills people. It's dangerous, and we need to keep our kids in, our elderlies, the folks that are, this could get them in a heartbeat, and they'd be in the hospital and nobody couldn't even go with them. You need to stay in. You need to protect yourself. I know a lot of folks are doing these drive-in services, and that's wonderful if they abide by the rules. But the videos I see, a lot of people are not abiding by the rules. I've seen people make videos, and then the next thing you know, they're hugging somebody, or they're going up and shaking somebody's hand. That's deadly. It's dangerous. It may not affect you, but it could affect your grandparents. It could affect your child. And I don't want to be involved in spreading this out to nobody and seeing them get sick or take their life. So I'm praying for you. I'm praying for our church. If I can do anything for you, I will. You know, there are certain things as a pastor that I just believe you got to do. And if I have to step outside of the comfort zone that I have, being over here quarantined at my house, I will. I'll come and help you. I'll come and do whatever I need to do with you, and I'll just trust that God will take care of me. But what I'm asking you to do is to take care of yourself. Be smart. Don't go out and get around people. Don't go out where somebody can touch you or cough on you, or you touch some kind of buggy at the Walmart or at the store. And if you go out, wear gloves. If you go out, try to have you some kind of mask. You know, we need to pray for our president. I mean, you can tell this has took its toll on him. We need to pray for our nation. You know, the governor of New York, he has so impressed me with his daily press conferences. He's trying to get his hands around what's going on up there. Other governors, the governor here of Georgia, the governor up in Tennessee, I'm so impressed with these guys. But we need to pray for our nation. And I want y'all to pray for me. I miss you. I miss not being at church. I miss not being at Sunday school and having our weekly interaction with each other. I so miss those Wednesday night classes where we're getting ready to go through the book of 1 Timothy. But I want you to stay safe. I'm trying to keep my family safe. And we'll be through this. It won't be long. This will all be behind us. And we'll be back assembling, and we're going to get... See, that's the great thing about being an American. America always rises up. America always overcomes what we face. And even more as a Christian. But I'm glad to be an American. I'm glad that I live in a place where our government it has our safety and our well-being at the heart of their decisions. I know they're not perfect. I know this country has its flaws and its ailments, but I don't know nowhere else I'd rather live than right here in America. And then on top of that, I don't know anything I'd rather be than a Christian. When I lay my head down at night, I can pray to my God for my safety, for your safety, for my family's safety. I love you. I'm praying for you. I'll be there for you. And I mean this. If you need me, you call me. I will be there. I'll let God take care of me, and I'll place my life in His hands. But I love you. God bless you.